So don't hate me, but relationships are a scam. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, my name is Jumoke Win, and I am one half of Win at Love. My husband and I, we coach single Christian women to meet and marry their eligible Christian man. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, make sure that you do like, subscribe, and you hit that bell so that you can get more notifications. Okay, so let's jump into it. All right, so I made this video for my clients, and I said, you know what, I think this will be a great teaching moment for the girlies on YouTube. And I wanted my clients to understand that exclusivity, it means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. A little bit of a background of how this came to be. Okay, so in our program, we don't really care what you call it. Let's just start with that, because I know a lot of Christians, they try to redefine relationships, redefine exclusivity, and they call it a different name, but a rose is a rose by any other name. So in our program, we define exclusivity by you two are exclusively getting to know one another. Because some people say, oh, we didn't date, but they were dating, right? We didn't date, we were in a courtship. Okay. We don't get so caught up on the name simply because the name is what trips people up when you're not addressing heart posture. Okay, so exclusivity, there's a whole umbrella. That means you're in a relationship, boyfriend and girlfriend, you're in a courtship, you're exclusively dating, you're going steady, whatever. It's all the same thing. And I was trying to help this one woman because she was asked to be exclusive by a man, but she was trying to push it off and say, oh no, I have to wait the 90 days that Think Like a Man, Steve Harvey told me to. And it turned him off, and it was just a downward spiral from there. And we told her from the jump, go ahead and be exclusive. It seems like he's risen to the top of your roster. It seems like you two really like each other. It doesn't mean anything, right? You're still going to vet him. You can be exclusive today and break up tomorrow. Exclusivity means nothing. And even though she went along with it at first, she retracted her exclusivity or wanting to be exclusive, and it just became such a mess. And when I was trying to correct her, I was trying to coach her through it, I realized from what she was saying, because she kept saying, oh, but I wanted to make sure I vetted him well and this and that, da 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 da. And then I understood. I said, oh, you're falling into the trap that most women fall into. And she explained and she said, yes, I see exclusivity as almost sacred, right? And I said, boom, see? That's where you're gonna get messed up. You see exclusivity as more than what it is, right? And in our program, and even when it comes to men in general, not all men see exclusivity the same way. What happens with a lot of women is they fall into what I call modern day concubinage, right? So back then, you had wives and you had concubines in the Bible. Concubines were lesser status wives. They just had sex with the man, they were part of his harem, but they did not have the title of a wife. And if that man never called them again, never wanted to talk to them again, just because he dealt with her for some time, he was just now obligated to provide for her, take care of her, and any other offspring that she had, take care of the offspring as well. So it wasn't a great thing to be a concubine, but in today's generation, women are being groomed to be concubines, even though they're called to be wives. The word of God is very clear. We didn't have concubines when it was just Adam and Eve, right? Even when Jesus came, it said, this is why a man leaves his father and his mother and is united to his wife, not wives, not wife and all these other women, and they become one flesh. So it's a husband and it's a wife. Even Paul said, since sexual morality is occurring amongst us, each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. So monogamy and having a monogamous covenant is God's standard. Okay, so let's just start right there. Now, why am I bringing this up? For some of you guys, you might understand, but for some women, they really don't understand because they are getting so caught up with Disney. right? And even though, yes, you're like, oh, I want a courtship, I want a relationship, women are losing the plot. And I want you to keep your head in the game. I don't want you to sit here and be duped to thinking that because a man called you his girlfriend, because you both said you were in a courtship, that equals marriage. No. And this is what keeps women in that concubine, girlfriend, forever girlfriend role, is because they confused pseudo commitment with real commitment. A relationship is nothing. It's not God's standard. Even a courtship. I know some Christians have tried to create something to separate themselves from the world, but it doesn't. I'll get into the courtship thing later and talk about how exclusivity should be viewed. I just want to first break this cycle and this understanding of, oh my gosh, a man said I'm his girlfriend, and you get your feelings so emotionally involved. Red flag. Not even red flag, but it's just mistake. Mistake, mistake, mistake. The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart, for the issues of life flow from it. You should never unguard your heart with a man who has not agreed to be your husband. Even if he said he is going to one day, put your money where your mouth is. Where is the white man paperwork? Where is my ring? If there's no ring on your finger, God sees you as single. The government, oh, one of my lights went out. The government sees you as single. Society even sees you as single. Because guess what? Once you guys break up, there's no repercussion for the man. If he moves on, if he's in a relationship with a woman for 10 years and then he moves on and gets married in 6 months, who's going to say anything? Nobody. You know why? Because he didn't agree to marry you. Now, if he was married to you and he went to go sleep with another woman and have an affair, okay, then there's social repercussions for that. But there's no social repercussion for a man broke up with you and moved on with his life. People are always going to look at you and say, well, why did you do all those things? Why did you give all these wifey privileges? Why did you give your time? Why did you give your youth? Why did you give your body? Why did you give him kids? Why did you live with him? Why did you become a live-in girlfriend, a live-in wife without the title? Because if you are actually a wife in spirit, not just in word, not just in I want to get married one day and I hope he gets married one day, but in the way that you're moving and in your standards and in your identity, you would never do something like that, okay? And even if you found yourself in that little mess, you would get out quickly. Why? Because you know I am someone's wife. Okay, so I wanted to put that out there. But before we continue, because I want to talk about exclusivity and how you should view it, but let's have a word from our sponsors, which is us. If being unmarried feels as urgent to you as being broke, then keep listening. My husband and I help Christian women find their person fast. We met and married in 6 months using a specific approach that actually works. We taught the same method to women like Anna, who married her husband in 3 months, and Esther, who married her husband in 8 months. And now we want to share it with you. Grab our Godly Dating Starter Kit today for only $27. We show you how to position yourself on the dating market as a godly woman and attract quality Christian men. Click the link below and grab your Godly Dating Starter Kit. Okay, so how should we view exclusivity? In our program, we don't mind if people are in relationships because, again, we don't care about the title. We care about the function, we care about the heart posture, and we care about you keeping your eye on the prize, your eyes on the prize, which is the ring, which is the title of a wife. Don't sit here and confuse exclusivity as marriage. It's not sacred. It's not special. I know we've been taught that it is special. You don't now start having sex with a man. You don't now give your heart away. It's not emotional safety. It's not emotional security. You don't live with a man now. You don't start paying his bills. You don't start cooking for him every single day. I mean, once in a while, sure. You know what I'm saying? You guys are dating. You guys are exclusively dating. I understand that. But you don't give him all of you, and you don't even have his last name. Come on. Hello. You do not now prematurely commit to a man because that's what a concubine does, and give him your heart on a silver platter and say, here it is, here I am, because you said I'm your girlfriend and you don't have that white man paperwork. Hello, if you don't have that white man paperwork, that marriage certificate, and a ring on your hand, you guys are nothing. You're nothing. Okay? But when it comes to exclusivity, how we tell women to view it is, let's say that you've been dating, getting to know some men, but there's that one man in particular that has risen to the top of your roster that you both just vibe, right? You guys have great chemistry, you guys have similar values, you guys are aligned in vision and where you're going in life. Okay, you should be exclusive with that guy. However, we encourage women to date emotionally detached, and that's a skill because you don't want to now be in a relationship and confuse it for marriage and find yourself there for 10 years. No. And that does not mean that you close your eyes off and you stop vetting, because some women feel like I have to know everything about a person before I'm exclusive with them, which doesn't make sense because there's some things that would only make sense to discuss in deeper intimacy. Well, to discuss when you're in deeper intimacy with a person. For example, it would be kind of strange. This is just me, this is my opinion. It would be kind of strange and a little tacky to discuss things like sexual past with someone that you are just casually getting to know. Is that not kind of strange? I don't know about you, but if a man is asking you about your body count, your sexual history, how many times have you done it? Do you have OnlyFans? He's asking you all these things about your sexual past on the first date, even second date, and you guys have only known each other for a week, and you both are not exclusive yet, and you're dating other men, he's dating other women. Would that not be tacky, right? Things like child rearing, things like finances. How are we going to, what are our views when it comes to finances? How are we going to operate when it comes to finances? Things like trauma. I would hope that you're not telling someone that you just met your deep childhood trauma and telling him things that happened to you in the past that really should only be fleshed out with a therapist, maybe a Christian counselor. That could be like your pastor or a Christian counselor, and maybe someone that you are exclusively dating, right? But I would hope that you don't expose such intimate details about yourself with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? So exclusivity has its own place. Now, again, do you need to know all of that before you get exclusive with a person? I say no. I say that you should be exclusive with a man if he asks you to, because not every man is going to, well, let me just say, if he asks you to, if he's risen to the top of your roster and if he reaches your baseline standards, I say go ahead and be exclusive. However, if you're like, oh no, I want to wait, I want to get to know you for 6 more months before I'm exclusive, that is taking control of the pursuit. And not every man is going to stick around for that. He's just going to go to a woman who will allow him to lead in that way and not take control and say, no, it has to go this way. No, it has to be that way. He's just going to move on, right? Because I keep telling women, you're not the one who gets to do the choosing. Hello. So I would encourage him to make that choice. However, you don't have to stay indefinitely because, again, women are putting too much stock in exclusivity. If you feel like this is a good idea, if this is a man that has taken you out, put in effort, shown you his intentions, okay, go ahead and be exclusive, even if you don't have everything fleshed out. Now, while you're exclusive, you don't stop vetting. While you're still vetting, if there's something that he's telling you or the way he's acting becomes inconsistent and you cannot agree with it, nobody is forcing you to stay there. That's why you guys are confusing exclusivity with marriage. With marriage, you can't really get out of that. Exclusivity is a what? We're broken up. I'm moving on to the next man. Next. Next. So, all this to say, that is how, excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold. That is how we should view exclusivity and relationships and boyfriend and girlfriend. Don't put too much stock in it, but hopefully this video has encouraged you. Let me know what you think about this video down in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.